Good morning from the garage. Today I'm going to do a quick video on putting a oil separator on the 3-liter Ecoboost of the Bronco Raptor. So, little backstory on oil separators and my opinion on when they're needed, when they're not needed. 3 different types of fuel setups for vehicles. You have port injection, traditional setup. Then we went to direct injection, and after that, manufacturers realized, hey, direct injection, problem is running PCV systems is the oil vapor that's captured out of the crankcase sticks to the back of the intake valves and get a reduction in performance. End up having to have a warmup blasting done to clean off the back of those intake valves. So of course direct injection is putting fuel in directly into the cylinders. Port injection goes in the intake, goes across the back of the intake valves and keeps those clean. It keeps all the oil vapor that ends up building up, crusting up into oily sludge on the back of the intake valves. Port injection keeps that cleaned off. So 3-liter Ecoboost has not been updated to dual fuel both port and direct injection. The 2.7 and the 3.5 both have been updated to port and direct injection. Actually, the newest 5-liter, Gen 3 5-liter has been updated to that as well. So, in my opinion, if you have a vehicle that's fairly stock, lightly modified, if you have a dual fuel setup, probably don't need to worry about hassling with a catch can. Regardless, if you have a extremely high horsepower vehicle, race application, something where you're at high RPMs very often, I would consider a very robust catch can setup, or as I can show on the truck and the turbocharged Mustang here. So I am running just filters, gutted PCV valves and filters to directly let that out, path of least resistance, get that pulled out of the block. So downfall to that is they do get saturated. These probably have about 5,000 miles on them. You can probably see by looking at that they are slightly saturated. They need clean, so with the next oil change I'm going to clean those out. You do get some smell from them being vented to atmosphere like that you can maybe possibly smell. You pull up to a stoplight, if you have your AC on or something, it'll pull that smell into the cow. So please disregard how awful this engine bay is. This thing sat outside for a while. 10 years, it got a little bit of neglect, but it's future videos coming up in the years. This is going to get switched over. I mean, I love the uniqueness of the 3.8 V6 turbo. It made 474 at the wheels with just an addition of a mild cam, but this is going to get turned into a road race car. So Gen 2 5.0 Tremec, gutted, under 3,000 pounds. Should be fun to get into doing some road course racing. But anyway, back on to the catch cans. So, you can either do direct filter to atmosphere, take your PCV system completely off, or if you want to keep it contained, there are more elaborate $300, $500 catch can setups that you can run on a race application. For direct injection, daily driver, lightly modified applications, I have been running the now J&L oil separator company, was JLT. I've been running their oil separators since their first generation. Never had an issue with them. Been great. Captured everything I could want to capture. Normally just run them on the passenger side. So passenger side, you're going to capture on a boosted application. You're going to capture during idling, normal daily driving, not in boost. That's where you're going to capture most of your oil coming in. Now, hard driving, under boost, high RPM, that's when you're going to start capturing through the driver's side. I ran a driver's side on, I think, one vehicle. There was definitely much more captured, you know, probably 3 to 1 what was captured on the other side. So I've just been running passenger side. That's all I'm going to run on this vehicle right here, unless I see otherwise. If I end up pulling the intake off, pulling the intercooler out, seeing a lot of buildup in there, then maybe I'll change my mind. But in my opinion, that'll be enough for this vehicle. So these are very simple setup. So air comes in, oily air from the crankcase, gets captured in this filter, it builds up in here, drips into the can, clean air gets pulled all the way up top here, out and back into the intake. As you can see, I pulled the OEM tube already off. I popped these on here just for a little mock-up, but definitely a good bit of oil already. There was, yeah, you can see it almost dripping around there now. So 1,800 miles, wish I would have got one on there sooner, but it's definitely capturing oil, or definitely will be capturing oil, and has drawn oil into the intake already. I've seen a few options of where this can be mounted on the Bronco Raptor. So J&L does not sell an off-the-shelf 3-liter Ecoboost kit. I contacted them because I saw their 2.7 kit online and the connections looked very similar. Asked them if it would work or if anyone's tried it on a 3-liter yet. While the connections are the same, the location to mount is not available behind the engine. So they offered to send me basically a 2.7 kit that wasn't assembled, so I can go ahead, and the only difference is to cut the lines here and cut them to the correct length. I'm going to post this up on a few of the Bronco Raptor pages. If you all end up having interest in this J&L oil separator for your 3-liter Ecoboost for the Bronco Raptor, then I could see if there's a demand for this. I'm going to send J&L some measurements, show them where I mounted it, so they could potentially put together some kits in the future. I have seen a couple options of mounting that I mentioned earlier. Actually, I saw SVT Performance had mounted theirs on this nut insert on the intake manifold here, and it sits up here in the back, real short lines running to it. I was looking at a location that would be easier to access. Don't necessarily want to reach up over if the engine bay's hot. Wanted somewhere a little down low, closer up front, so it'd be easier, because sometimes if these have been on for a while, the O-ring right there, you really have to get it kind of tight. So I wanted somewhere where I could hold on to it with one hand. I didn't want to be cranking on it with another hand, you know, bending this bracket. So I wanted to be able to hold on to it and pop this loose and be able to get it up out without having to worry about anything dripping. So I am going to mount mine on this existing stud where the battery is here. Let's see where that screw in I had. So we'll go ahead and, no, it's already in there. Go ahead and pop this in, just kind of show the wiring, or wiring, the hose location that I'll be running, or the routing. And if you notice me misspeaking in any of these videos, or something I say makes no sense at all, shoot a comment or send me a message, and I can clear it up. I'm usually doing these on first take, just me talking, so I have a tendency sometimes to completely misspeak, say the wrong word while I'm talking, and I might not catch myself, and you'll wonder what the heck I'm talking about. So I'm going to figure out exactly how I want to run this. I'm thinking right off the top of my head, I did a few tests here. I'm probably just going to run this up right there, cut to length. Second one will run right beside it up to here. Again, not the cleanest. This is not going to be a show vehicle. I'm not going to be taking it to car shows and popping the hood. I just want something easy to get to and drain. If I'm plan on taking a lot of long trips in this vehicle to do off-roading. So if I'm taking a long trip somewhere before I go off-road, if I'm driving a few thousand miles out west, I'll probably want to drain this real quick before I continue on and do any trails. So having it up here, I think is a really good spot. I can reach right down, loosen it up, pull it up, and pull it out and drain it. So this is where I like it. Again, you can pick somewhere else. Like I said, SVT Performance mounted it right in that existing nut in the intake manifold there. Looked real nice up top. Only issue is you got to reach up over the engine bay to get it. So this is where mine's going to be. I will, after I get it all completely installed, run the camera around it and look at everything. But for right now, I'm going to go ahead and actually need to go run to the auto parts store and grab another length of hose, and we'll get all these hoses put together. They sent these nice shrink fittings for the end to hold the hoses, a couple extra risers here if you need to raise up the mounting bracket depending on where you're located, and most importantly a sticker that I'm just going to go ahead and install this on the sticker cabinet. Alright, let's see, where is an empty spot? Let's go right here. Oil separators installed. Happy with the location. Easy to unscrew the can, empty it, screw it back on. Coming out of the valve cover, going into the mesh side where it can build up, drop down into the can, then come back out, back into the intake manifold. Just running the passenger side setup, it's probably going to catch 2/3 of everything going into the engine. I'm perfectly happy with that. Again, for 160 bucks, the J&L oil separators that I've been running since 2011, 2012 do a great job. I don't see any need to go with anything more elaborate for a stock, lightly modified vehicle. As I mentioned before, you may want to look at other options for highly modified vehicles, something that's going to be raced, road racing, high RPMs for long periods of time would be a choice to go with the other options. But one thing I will say about the videos that I will create is I'm not getting paid to sell this, to talk about this. I just want to talk about what works on vehicles, just from experience of doing this for quite some time now. A lot of products come out and companies will say that you need this, this is needed, then it'll go into the forums, everyone will be buying stuff, putting products on that aren't really 100% necessary, if necessary at all, just to sell you a product. So over the years, same with my detailing products that I talked about, narrowed it down to, what's necessary, what works, what you actually need. And on this, with only being direct injection, I would say that running a passenger side oil separator is a good choice for this vehicle. I'll empty it out at 5,000 mile oil change intervals, which is what I'm going to go with on this. Due to how it's ran, if I'm doing a lot of off-roading, there's most likely going to be a lot of idling, a lot of low RPM driving, so I will change it more often. Real quick, I am running 0-40 in this 3-liter Ecoboost. I like zero weight oil. 0-40 tends to be a better base oil, and also zero will get it flowing through the engine a lot faster, get it up to the cam phasers, get it moving around inside the engine. And the 40 weight is a good choice for direct injection because oil studies of used oil tend to show on a direct injection vehicle, Ecoboost in particular, a 30 weight will be closer to a 20 weight by the time you're ready for an oil change. So I like the 40 weight for the added protection. And you really can't beat Walmart. The 12-quart wine boxes of 0-40 Mobil 1 is an excellent choice. Castrol European formula, also an excellent choice for 0-40. That is what I run in my BMWs. So 160 bucks, J&L oil separator. Hit them up if you're interested in a kit for the Bronco Raptor. I will say, unless they offer more hose, what they send is not enough to do this location here. If you chose to do that, you need 6 feet of hose, and you want to make sure you leave a little extra here for room to move, so as the engine moves, it's not tugging on the oil separator bracket. If you have any questions, put them in the comments, shoot me a message, and until next time, thanks for watching.